All right, let's just jump right in. I'm going to say two words: personal finance. Yeah. For a lot of us, that phrase just brings up, stress, maybe a little bit of confusion, but definitely not fun. So today, we're going to look at this really cool case study on how you can take a topic that's super dense, often really stressful, and make it not just something you can understand, but something that's genuinely entertaining.
I mean, that's the big question, right? For anyone trying to teach this stuff or even just learn it, how do you make personal finance fun? This is a subject that is famous for being dry, a little intimidating, full of spreadsheets. So how do you get people to actually lean in instead of just immediately tuning out?
Well, the source material we're digging into today has a really simple but kind of brilliant answer. You make it funny. It's like you're wrapping that hard-to-swallow medicine of financial advice in the delicious candy wrapper of a comedy podcast.
So, let's actually break this proposal down. It's a podcast, and the title is just hilarious and straight to the point. It's called No te lo gastes todo insensato, which translates perfectly to Don't spend it all, you fool. Right off the bat, you know this is going to be anything but a stuffy, boring lecture.
And check out the show's slogan. It just perfectly captures the whole promise in one line. It's not about just, depriving yourself and staring at spreadsheets. No, it's about laughing your way towards a savings goal so that maybe, just maybe, you can actually afford that thing you really want without all the guilt.
This whole concept is a perfect example of what's known as edutainment. It's this fantastic idea that learning doesn't have to feel like a chore. By blending education with entertainment, you can make these lessons stick so much better, and honestly, the whole process just becomes way more effective.
Okay, so here's the crucial part. What actually makes a format like this work? I mean, it's not just about telling a few jokes, right? It all starts with the two hosts. Their personalities are completely different, and that conflict is what creates this dynamic that really drives the whole show.
So, on one side, you've got Paco the Prudent. He's the voice of reason, the guy who's always planning for the long term, maybe a little bit cheap. And then on the other side, you have Lola the spender, and she's just wonderful. She's impulsive, and she perfectly represents the average person who, just wants to enjoy life, and maybe buys a few too many things.
And Lola's character is just so relatable because of moments exactly like this one. Her confession about having a moment of weakness over avocado-shaped candles. I mean, it's so specific, it's funny, and it's totally something you can picture yourself or a friend doing. And then Paco's comeback, it's just so dry and sarcastic, and it instantly sets up their whole dynamic. He is the practical, logical foil to her impulsive charm. And you see, this back and forth, it's not just them arguing, it's the engine. It's where all the humor and, believe it or not, all the financial lessons actually come from.
All right, so let's shift gears and look at the actual structure of an episode. How does this all come together? We're going to use their example, which has the brilliant title, The Coffee of Contempt, to really see how they turn a simple, everyday habit into a masterclass in edutainment.
So the whole episode centers on a classic financial problem, that daily trip to the coffee shop. But here's the thing, it's not a lecture. It's framed as this hilarious debate between Paco, who calls it the silent enemy of your savings, and Lola, who's defending it as her little luxury. We've all had this internal debate, right?
And then Paco drops the financial bombshell. He does the math and reveals the annual cost of that one little €250 coffee every single workday. €600. It's such a powerful, simple number that just perfectly shows how a seemingly tiny daily leak can turn into a massive hole in your budget over time. But here's where the magic really happens. And this is such a crucial step. Paco gives them the stark number, but it's Lola who gives that number meaning. Instead of just letting that €600 be this scary negative thing, she immediately reframes it. She translates it into an amazing aspirational goal. All of a sudden, skipping a coffee isn't about depriving yourself, it's about funding a spa weekend. That changes everything. And the advice they give isn't just practical, it's actually fun. Paco's tips are framed as this epic battle against the expensive coffee monster, which turns the action steps into a game. You've got the 15-second rule, the coffee survival kit. It makes saving feel clever and proactive, not like you're being punished.
Okay, so let's pull all this together. Why is this blend of personality, this relatable conflict, and this sort of gamified advice, why is it so incredibly effective at teaching a subject like personal finance? What's the secret formula here?
Well, the formula's power really comes from a few key ingredients all working together. You start with those super identifiable characters and their exaggerated but totally true-to-life stories.
Then you layer on running gags, like the avocado candles, which builds this great rapport. And then you add in some clever wordplay and even direct interaction with the audience to really pull them into the conversation.
You know, when you look at this whole case study, the real lesson isn't just about how to save a few bucks on coffee. It's a really powerful lesson in communication. It proves that pretty much any complex, intimidating, or, let's be honest, boring topic can be made accessible and even engaging if you just find the right way to frame it. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If a subject as personal and as stressful as our own finances can be made fun using this model, this blend of humor and relatability, then what other difficult subjects out there are just waiting for a similar transformation? You know, from things like civic duty to complex science, what else could we make fun?